The history of interpreting assumed to be earlier than the original. This is accurate because the monolinguals only, not accurate by multilingual nature. First, interpreting only taken by a low status, bilingual or multilinguals with no training. Later on, can be found that multilinguals of high status, people in the borderland, and children with different home language started learning it informally or as part of their professional roles. In the 17th century, there are also records of the first teamwork between a deaf male translator and two female listeners, translating in North American in a religious context. Nora Gross, 1985, exam language status, choice, fluency, and language mediums. In Martha's vineyard, sings language often have the same status as spoken language, at least in the small communities, with some members being more fluent than others. As a result, sing language emerged and was used by members of the deaf and non-deaf to a lesser or greater degree, and depended on one's interaction with other sing language users. Gross, 1985, also notes that the wives of many deaf Islanders serve as interpreters for church service, to suggest that deafness is not seen as a social stigma as far as interpretation is openly permitted in courses, and as far as we know it is not socially shunned. In the 18th century, we find the first record of requests for interpreters at London courts. There is some presumption that a person who is qualified to translate for a deaf defendant is not qualified to translate for a court of law. This suggests that a deaf person can be retired if they understand the things, have a sworn interpreter, and legal counsel is appointed. However, this does not mean they can fully participate in the trial and also may not be able to present a defense. Testimony of deaf people as witness has been permitted in court since the late 18th century. Interpreters can only interpret sing and spoken language based on what they understand. Deaf people will try to use sing gestures to communicate. In 1964, Vocational Rehabilitation Service sponsored a workshop on interpreting for deaf people. The purpose was to combat the shortage of interpreters through the promotion and later become Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, or we call it RID. In 1960 to 1970, British Deaf Association, or we call it BDA, received funding from the Department for Health and Social Service for Communication Skill Project. From this effort, a national register and sign language interpreting qualification were developed. In Australia, to become an interpreter, training courses are available in most states. For most states, students will take 1 year part-time course. All approved training program must meet rigorous standard for the content, and denial exam must emulate the structure of the NAATI test. So there are various ways and necessary training to interpret.